Hifumi baby, I appreciate it, man. And Willow Tree Dot, thank you for the 24. Watch this very epic video. It's epic. Also, if you don't know yet, VAXEI is out of the top 10. This hasn't happened in Osu for 7 years. What the fuck? Wait, this is my nerdiness. I saw one of his old videos and it was like pretty epic. Wait a second. Also, if you don't know yet, VAXEI is out of the top 10 and there's no more US flags in the top 10. Don't worry, I'll change that.
This is BTMC. If you play Osu...
Wait, is this a video about me?
I told him about the fact that there are no longer any American players inside the top 10. He's just making an overdose on copium joke like he always does.
What the fuck?
Classic Ed. But what he might not realize is that this is the first time in 7 years that there is not a single American player inside the top 10, and that it might mark the start of a power shift in Osu. Alright, quick pause. I recorded this 3 weeks ago. Utami happened. God damn it. The United States has been...
Here's the deal. The only reason why the US isn't in the top 10 is because they allow the others. They allow the others to actually have some fun. Because there's no competition, dude. The US has so many amazing players that they're bored of competing against each other. There's no reason for them to grind. That's it! That is literally it.
The strongest country in Osu by a large margin for quite a while now. And now they are debatably at their weakest in years.
You're gonna say what I think you're gonna say.
This is the single worst mental team that could ever be assembled in
Yes.
any
Oh my god.
If anything goes wrong, this is the worst mental team you could possibly put together, and I'm really scared for something bad happening if that occurs.
Huh?
A little more than a month ago, Matthew overtook VAXEI for the number 10 spot on the Osu Global Rankings, putting VAXEI at 11th and outside the top 10. VAXEI is outside the top 10. Do you know how crazy that sounds? This is unbelievable, not just because of the vast amount of talent VAXEI has, but because it feels like VAXEI has remained inside the top 10 for so long. The last time VAXEI was outside the top 10 was when Fiery Rage surpassed him for the 10th spot, all the way back in February 2020.
Wait, Fire Rage was a top 10 player? What the
VAXEI
fuck?
added 9
That's
different
crack.
matches to his profile, including 2 OWC wins, 1 United States Cup win, a win at the Perennial and Drench program, among others. And of course, as we've already talked about before, he hasn't lost a single tournament that he's played in that time span. And perhaps the most shocking fact about this is that this is the first time an American player has been outside the top 10 since May of 2015, 7 years ago. It may have felt like an eternity since the US has dominated Osu, but it was never always like this. Prior to 2015, the United States was more or less average. In the first 5 Osu World Cups since the first one in 2011, the United States didn't crack the top 3 a single time. They peaked at 5th place in 2011 and 2014, which is pretty good, but a far cry from what they would experience in the future.
The good old days.
As time progressed, the overall skill of the United States began to greatly increase. By the time the 2015 Osu World Cup came around, the United States assembled this team. This team was stacked. Happy Stick peaked at number 6 worldwide in June, Xarius peaked at number 6 in November and would reach number 4 just 2 months later, and Silver peaked at number 9 in October. Not to mention, they had other tournament titans like Toy, Natalia, Ritze, 0120, Solus, and Zodiac. There even was a point in time where the number 9, 10, and 11
Damn, this video is really detailed. This dude did his research.
And
Holy
as
shit.
they say, the rest is history. As starting from 2015, the United States went on to win 6 of the last 7 renditions of the Osu World Cup, including the last 4 in a row. Xarius, who was the highest ranked American at the time, would remain inside the top 10 for a really long time. He didn't fall outside the top 10 until October 2016.
That's false. He would have remained in the top 10 if he didn't start playing Maple Story. God fucking damn it. Maple Story ruined him. Maple Story took over his fucking life, dude. God damn.
Almost a full year after the 2015 Osu World Cup. And while he did fall outside the top 10 eventually, there was another American who took his place in the meantime. His name is VAXEI. Ever since he entered the top 10 in May of 2016, he was the only American player to be ranked inside the top 10 for nearly 2 years. That was the case until Idki entered the top 10 himself in March of 2018. And then Freddie Benson said, "F it. I might as well make it 3 people" when he entered the top 10 in November 2018. And then in July of 2019, it seemed like these 3 were playing keep away with the number 1 ranking when the 3 of them decided to hog the top 3 spots in the world for themselves.
Lol.
This is when I would say the United States clearly became the most dominant country in Osu. And what happened in the Osu World Cup of that year? Well, let's just say the outcome wasn't really in doubt. But since then, the US has dialed down their overall performance just a little bit. Idki would drop outside the top 10 in July 2020, and Freddie would drop outside outside the top 10 in December 2020. This left VAXEI as the only American player inside the top 10. He would remain there for about a year and a half. Arison would briefly enter the top 10 for a while in November 2021, but VAXEI would outlast him, once again becoming the only...
Is anyone keeping track of the amount of times this guy is saying top 10?
Would soon go gray, leaving his spot in the top 10 up for the
top 10.
And finally, on April 18th, 2022, VAXEI was knocked outside the top 10 by
the top 10.
marking the first time VAXEI was outside the top 10
the top 10
years since June of 2019. Simultaneously, this also marked the first time that there were no US players inside the top 10.
The top 10.
2015. From this perspective, the US has fallen from their former glory. They still might be considered the strongest country in the world for OSU, but the gap between them and second place is nowhere near as polarizing as before. After the US made things unfun in 2019, the rest of the world has since gotten better. Most notably, WHITECAT was unbanned and MREKK burst onto the scene. Not to mention that there were many nations making a legitimate claim to win OWC. And right now, the US is the worst that they have ever been in years. It seems like a lot of top US players have been losing interest in the game, as many of them have gone inactive. Since the 2021 OSU World Cup ended, it seemed like a lot of them have become more laxed and inactive. Does this mean that everything will change? Well, it's debatable. But personally, I feel like we've seen this movie before. Doubting the US? Questioning their claim to repeat as OWC champions? Despite not being as strong as they were in 2019, the US has proven that their depth of talent is simply too strong to overcome. It's way too early for anyone to predict anything right now, but the US has shown that they can win with any player they choose. Here's a stat that's gonna make your mind spin. In the 2020 and 2021 OSU World Cup, the US had 13 different players on the roster. Only 3 of them played in both the 2020 and 2021 OSU World Cup. Those 3 were Airyu, Fancy Lad, and Fiery Rage. On top of bringing 13 unique players on their roster in those 2 years,
hey guys, I see me.
Debut as a rookie. They were bringing in several
Good morning.
with literally 0 OWC
That's me.
experience under their belt. Yet they managed to always win. 2021 specifically was probably the most impressive run the United States went on. They didn't have VAXEI, they were bringing in 4 rookies, and their roster was arguably the weakest roster they had in the past 6 years. Not only that, the US retained only 3 of their 8 players that won the OSU World Cup the previous year. For sustained success, doing this is simply unheard of. In comparison, Germany, the team that many consider to be the favorite to win the OSU World Cup in 2021, kept 6 of their 8 players from the team that earned them second place the year prior. The general consensus was that the US were bringing in way too many fresh faces to win the OSU World Cup, and VAXEI's absence cast further doubt on their hopes. The writing was on the wall. Everyone felt like it was the end of the winning streak for the United States. We were all convinced that this was the time they would finally come up short, but they proved us all wrong. So while the US might be the worst than they've ever been in a long time, and it's more possible than ever for them to lose this year's OWC, it would be a cardinal sin to write them off too soon. Not only have they won OWC with a multitude of different players, the talent the US boasts is too good to overlook. In fact, let me take a look at one player in specific, Utami, the North American Tournament Champion of 2021. With VAXEI's absence from OWC in 2021, as the all-rounder on their team, he had to fill his shoes, which is probably the hardest thing a player from the US could do. He is crazy good at all skill sets, but is he VAXEI levels of good? This was a major reason why people were counting out the US. Simply put,
Also
they thought that
Filipino.
VAXEI's absence would prove to be too hard to overcome. But in spite of that, you know what Utami did? He played in 46 out of the 52 maps the United States played in the bracket stage, tore up the entire tournament, and won OWC Rookie of the Year. This is ridiculous. It was as if VAXEI didn't play to give other teams hope, just to find out that he cloned himself and sent his clone to destroy everyone.
That's actually true.
Not only did he tear it up in his OWC debut, he surpassed VAXEI on the global rankings, ending VAXEI's 3-year reign as the #1 ranked player in the United States. Does this mean that the future of the US is in Utami's hands? Well, considering VAXEI's current inactivity, it might seem like he is their last hope. But consider this. VAXEI's profile has gone gray around this time every single year since 2019. And every single time that he has come back, he has dominated the tournament scene over and over again. So, knowing his patterns, he will come back. And if he returns to the OSU World Cup unlike last year, he will form possibly one of the best duos in OWC history alongside Utami. And you already know that they will destroy everyone in their path. You know, they're kind of similar to another duo. Yeah. Good luck stopping them.
Guys, Let me bring some added context to this. Why is the US chilling? Why is the US deciding to just relax? Take unnecessary risks. Switching out all of these players. Why? Chat, truly ask yourself, why is the US deciding to make these insane, unrational decisions? Jepson says because the US has so many players in the top 100, that's why. That could be a reason. They want more people with OWC badges. That could be a reason. Because everybody that is Filipino is good and half of the US is Filipino. I'm Chinese. Hello? All right. Let me tell you the reason why, chat. The year in which... Let's talk about the OWC, chat. What are the great achievements that you can get from the OSU World Cup, right? There's a badge. Everyone wants a badge, right? There's the money, but the money isn't really that big. But the biggest thing is the pride. The pride that comes as the result of being chosen to represent your country, to play on the big leagues, and to represent. Here's the deal. Under the United States' reign, that sense of pride wasn't exactly there. Sure, people wanted to play for the US, but the thing is, because the core team of the US was so strong, there was almost no reason for them to switch things up. If everyone was just focusing on having the US win, boom, they already have basically a guaranteed team to win. But where's the fun in that? Where's the fun? The US has already made a single attempt to see just how dominant they were. You want to know what happened when they tested themselves? They won OWC and only lost what I believe 3 points out of the entire tournament. Practically 6 or 7-0ing everyone else, every single team. They lost 3 maps in the entirety of the tournament. That was the year. I was talking to Idke about this. Idke was like, yeah, we were all just talking together and we're like, let's make this OWC the most boring OWC ever. Every single player on the US team try-harded their ass off. And it worked. Every time the US showed up, the opponent team didn't get a single point. Except on like 3 separate occasions. And you want to know what happened as a result of that? Everyone hated it. Everyone hated it. Oh, the US wins again. Oh, the US. Oh, man. Another 6-0. Another 7-0. It's boring.
Yeah, fuck the US!
Dude, the OSU World Cup was boring because the US was so fucking strong. So here's why things changed. 1, the United States players obviously cares about the longevity of the competitive scene. How can you have longevity if you don't even give your up and coming players a shot? How can you foster a competitive community if you don't give the up and comers a shot? If they're using the best of the best every single year, how can you foster that community? You can't. Which is why in 2020, you saw what you saw. Entire roster change, pretty much. So many of the core members of the OSU World Cup, the USOWC team, vanished. And newer players were given a shot. Now, on paper, that's like, what the fuck? The US is trolling. But from the United States point of view, it's like, okay, let's make OWC interesting. Let's make it interesting, but also give our up-and-comers a taste of what it's like to be at the top. And so the US won again. And that was probably one of the most interesting OWCs to happen that year. Or that, like, up until that point. Because the moment that the roster change happened, people were wondering, oh shit, is the US actually going to be as dominant as they were before? People were questioning. It was no longer oh, who cares about the OWC the OWC tournament? The US is just going to win. It's more like, what the fuck? The US could actually lose. Let's watch it because the US could actually get upsetted. Now, it is what it is. The US won. Okay. I'll be completely honest. I feel like I got carried. But the fact that I was able to get on the team at all already speaks for itself, right? Now, in 2021, the same exact thing happened to another extreme. VAXEI departing to who knows where. Probably getting bitches and making money. But when VAXEI disappeared, holy shit, dude, all eyes were on OWC. The US losing arguably their best player. Rank 1 in the US for so long. Dominating every single tournament he joins. But vanishing in the most important tournament of the year. And all of a sudden, OWC was that much more interesting. People were wondering, holy shit, will this change actually make things different? And then the US won again. But even though the US is still winning, arguably speaking, the OWCs have gotten more interesting. Entertaining. Like, you would want to watch that because all these changes are happening. You're rooting for the underdogs, but you're also realizing, holy shit, the underdogs actually have a fucking chance because the USA is trolling. But make no mistake, if the time calls for it, if there's a genuine, actual reason, the US will reappear and take over the world. Chat, let's be real. When you're playing on the OSU World Cup, you are expected, as a player on the team, to commit to it. Quite literally, the #1 priority. Your #1 priority is ensuring that you are going to be playing at your absolute peak for every single map that you play. That involves practice. That involves scrims. That involves research. Everything. But what do you get for winning the OSU World Cup? What is it? $500 divided by 8 players and then a badge. Is that worth arguably practicing maybe 2 hours every single day, sacrificing arguably your most important social days, the weekends, committing for a tournament? It's not worth it, chat. It's just not worth it. For most players, the thing that gets them, that does make it worth it, is the fact that there's a challenge. If there's a genuine challenge, if you truly believe that there's another player who is potentially actually able to flip things around. As a competitive player, my competitive spirit lights up. And I'm like, okay, I'll take him on and we'll see what happens. No one cares about the money. It's all about who is better. But from the US's point of view, let's be real, chat. You already know who's better. Everyone here already knows who's better. That competitive drive is gone. There's no reason to continue competing because you're already the best. So, they're bored. That's it. Many players here on the US are just bored. They're waiting. They're waiting for someone to actually come up to truly change the game. And fortunately, they don't have to wait that much longer. Because I am here. That's right! You're staring at the next rank 1 USA player. The one who will destroy WHITECAT, destroy MREKK, and, that's right, when everything is set in stone, I will challenge VAXEI to a 1 versus 1 IRL here in Los Angeles on a giant ass stage where I can absolutely humiliate him. And it will be beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Weren't you done with tournaments though? Here's the deal. Here's the thing, chat. Tournaments were great. They forced me to challenge myself in skill sets of the game that I genuinely hated. And as a result, I improved from it. However, the pressure of needing to perform led to bad habits being formed. And I feel like that was actually the reason why my performance in OWC was actually so bad. It was because I was employing bad habits in an effort to save myself when it wasn't necessary. So that's why I'm taking my time away from tournaments. I say I'm done with tournaments, but if everything goes right, I will return. But I will not return as Ed BTMC, the Space Stream guy. I will return as... I was going to say VAXEI's dad, but that's weird. Never mind. You get it. Anyways, I'm smashing the like button. Holy shit, guys. I just smashed the like button because I enjoyed this video. I also subscribed because it's free and I can unsubscribe at any point in time. I also didn't turn on notifications. How do you spell didn't? Because my phone gets blown up. Sorry, dude. Thank you.